And so let's look at some points as it relates to aligned living, living in alignment. Point number one is material restoration flows from soul stewardship. Stewardship is about management, it's about properly utilizing what you have. And so, material restoration flowing from soul stewardship is about prosperity following you because you're not a chaotic person, but because you are an orderly person. Scripture lets us know that let everything be done in decency and in order. And this is because prosperity follows order and not chaos. Point number two is provision is not just about money, but it is also about management. You shouldn't just want to desire money, but you should also be desiring the insight, the wisdom, the knowledge as to how to manage it, because a healed soul makes wise, generous, and aligned decisions. Is your money choices aligned with the outcomes that you want to see manifest? Point number three is external increase always tied to internal order. So when you have this order internally, you will begin to see the manifestation of increase externally. And this can happen in one area while you are suffering or not prosperous in another area. And that simply means that you have an internal order in that particular area where you might be chaotic in another area. So you want to make sure that your internal being, your soul, your mind, your will, and your emotions in all areas, financial, relational, career wise, professionally, is in order so that you can see the external increase in that area. Point number four is God restores filters before finances. He changes how you see before he changes what you have. Could it be that you have what you need at this current moment to get the job done, but you just need you need to have your filter restored. You need to see things clearly. Could things be the way that they are because of the way that you see? And so you can always begin to change your perspective on how you see things, because when you see things differently, you begin to utilize them and manage them differently. And that change can make all of the difference. It can be the difference between success and failure. So you want to begin to change your filter or have your filter restored. Point number five is God restores worth before relationships. God restores worth before relationships. He heals identity before he heals connections. And this is really because you should not go into a relationship to gain worth or to gain value. You go into a relationship to add value. So you want God to be able to work on your identity and to heal your identity before He heals the connection, so that you're adding value and not looking for the connection, not looking for the relationship to give you value. And point number six is, as a parent, you parent from peace and not pressure. You parent from peace and not pressure. We're talking about aligned living. You parent from peace and not pressure. You respond to your child without projecting your wounds. You don't set your child back because of failures, because of disappointments that you had, or because of fears that you have. You're projecting your wounds onto them when you have a fragmented soul. But when your soul is whole, you refuse to parent from pressure, and you begin to parent from a place of peace. Point number seven, as a spouse or partner, you love from overflow and not emptiness. You bring stability, maturity, and emotional consistency. Point number eight is, as a friend, you show up whole and not needy. You offer strength, not silent competition or emotional extraction. So you're giving more than you're taking. And then point number 9 is as a son or daughter, you honor without carrying old wounds. You honor your parent, you honor your caregiver without carrying old wounds. You release bitterness and then you embrace perspective. Because as you begin to have a whole soul and possess your soul, you'll come to realize that everybody has situations, everybody has their traumas, everybody has their things that they experience that dictate how they respond and behave in life. And so some of your wounds that a parent may have caused could have been because of wounds that they've had. And as you begin to possess your soul, you embrace that perspective of what they had to endure and what they had to go through that most likely caused them not to be their best self for you. So, as a son or daughter, you honor your parent, your caregiver, without carrying old wounds. You release bitterness and you embrace perspective. Point number 10, as a sibling, you release rivalry and embrace restoration. You connect instead of compete. Point number 11 is as an employee, you serve with integrity, not insecurity. You bring emotional intelligence and internal peace to your work. As point number 12, as an employer, you lead with wisdom and not ego. You build people, not just systems. Point number 13 is a property owner. Ownership becomes stewardship. And we're not just talking about houses and land, but we're talking about any piece of property, anything that you possess, anything that you have as a property owner. Your ownership is about stewardship. You manage resources with foresight and purpose. You're utilizing things to the best of their ability for results for the present as well as for results in the future. Then point number 14 is someone entrusted with wealth. Wealth serves your vision and not your worth. You give generously, you invest wisely, and you resist comparison. And so this is all about you knowing your worth or getting wealth and not depending on that wealth to give you your value and your worth because you're utilizing your wealth to give generously, to invest wisely, meaning putting the wealth to work for you. And then you're going to resist comparison. You're not going to focus on the amount of wealth that someone else has in comparison to yours. You utilize what you have been entrusted with, and knowing that you have the ability to invest it and grow it. And then point number 15, as a steward of your body, you treat your body as sacred, not as a project. Your body is not a project, it is sacred. So you should be nourishing it, you should be giving it rest, and you should be moving with intention. This is best practice for your body. This is how you steward your body, manage your body. You nourish it, you give it rest, and you move it with intention. And so these points are what's all about living in alignment or aligned living. Let's do an overview. Point number 1 is material restoration flows from soul stewardship. Point number 2, provision is not just about money, it's about management. Point number 3, external increase is always tied to internal order. Point number 4, God restores filters before finances. Point number 5, God restores worth before relationships. Point number 6, as a parent, you parent from peace and not pressure. Point number 7, as a spouse or partner, you love from overflow, not emptiness. Point number 8, as a friend, you show up whole, not needy. Point number 9, as a son or daughter, you honor without carrying old wounds. Point number 10, as a sibling, you release rivalry and you embrace restoration. Point number 11, as an employee, you serve with integrity, not insecurity. Point number 12, as an employer, you lead with wisdom, not ego. Point number 13, as a property owner, ownership becomes stewardship. Point number 14 is someone entrusted with wealth. Wealth serves your vision and not your worth. And point number 15 is a steward of your body. You treat your body as sacred, not as a project. This is all about aligned living.